Hey everybody, it's Fraser here. I hope you're doing well. This video is for the high school players that I coach in the 2021 high school football season. I want to go over in this video sort of three things that I was constantly talking about in the practices, in the games, that I think you can translate from your playing career to real life, or you can use to leverage in your future football endeavors. I want to sort of drill down on sort of three concepts that I think you can pull from football into the real world and that have a lot of utility. So the three things that I'm going to chat about today is the sort of the clear the slate concept of the next play philosophy. The second bit would be flicking the switch, getting into that nice emotional mindset that's going to give you that best peak performance. And then lastly, talking about sort of the overall framework of our team and how you can translate that sort of vision or goal-based framework into other pursuits in your life. And this, I hope this video will be useful for you guys and something you can refer back to if you need sort of refresher on these topics and if you think they're useful. So first bit is clearing the slate. You often hear me saying that. I sort of break down the game into one play increments, and that's really nice because in football, of course, it's one play at a time. It's not one continuous session of play broken up by quarters or halves or anything like that. So football is unique in that context, but I think it's super useful because when you break down one play at a time and just focusing on that one narrow sort of being in the present moment context, that's much different than thinking into the future, like, oh, we're going to win this game, the moment's pretty big, oh my gosh, or the other way, perceiving things from something in the past, like, oh man, we lost this team before, I'm kind of nervous about it, or maybe I had a bad play a few plays ago, someone scored a touchdown on me, or I threw an interception, things like that. Those things can get in your mind, and it's the worst when you trip over something that's already behind you, right? So when I'm saying clear the slate, it's mostly just to focus on being in the moment as opposed to being in the future, which would be anxiety, or in the past, which would be potentially regret. So I think you can take that concept of being present in the moment when you're doing a task, being in that flow state, in football, but also in life. That's something that's directly transmissible. The other element of that is sort of a Roman era Stoic kind of concept. You can find this in other philosophies as well, but that just comes to mind first, of controlling what you can control. You often heard us saying, hey, do we control the refs? No. Do we control the field? No. Do we control the other team's strategy? No. Do you control the players? Do you control the coaches? No. And what it boils down to is that the only thing you can control is your attitude towards the scenario you're in. If you sprain your ankle, it's kind of out of your control, but how you respond to that is up to you. And I'm sure you guys would agree that at the beginning of the season, when something bad would happen, perceived as bad, something like, the other team would score against us, kids would just lose their mind. They'd throw their helmet, like they'd take a knee, they'd roll on the floor, or whatever, just lose their minds. And hopefully you saw that the coaches and myself specifically wouldn't lose our minds. And that's because, I'm realizing that that's out of my control. And there's no reason to be upset by that because we're taking it one play at a time. We're clearing the slate next play. So I think you can take that and you can take that to the bank and leverage that forward in any other context. You write an exam in school, doesn't go that well, clear the slate, next exam, right? Or next day of class or whatever the case. You go in for that job interview, you bomb it, or you do really well, you clear the slate, next event or next thing that's in front of you, right? So that's a key insight I think you can take. And I think you'd agree that by the end of the season, our whole team had kind of bought into that concept subconsciously. And whenever something, like another team would score on us or something, adversity would arise, I wouldn't see the heads down, chest down kind of vibe. I would see people standing up and pulling everybody up. So leverage that in the future. It's worked really well for me. The second thing of that sort of clear the slate concept, again, that Roman era Stoic kind of philosophy of sort of Marcus Aurelius kind of guy, kind of concepts, is that you don't control outcomes, but then you do have agency to view things as useful or real to you, depending on what they are. So often you'd see me and I'd say, oh, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Well, that's the subjective kind of element to an extent. So, when a team would score on us, I would say, oh, good, it's an opportunity to come back. Right? There's sort of it's a useful reframe, or you hurt your knee. Oh, it's a good time to work on like the physio aspect of it, get your body healthy as an opportunity to kind of grow in other ways. So that's another framework too. If you have an identity or a narrative in your mind that's not useful, you can, like in football, take that narrative out and replace it with something more useful. So that's why you'd hear me saying, oh, it's 50-0 at halftime if we were losing. Not that that happened, but if it was, I'd say good. What an opportunity to get 51 points, right? There's an element of I'm reframing things to be positive. And I can't say that even throughout the whole season, even if I was having an emotional reaction to a negative event, perceived negative, I was able to really quickly flip that. And I think the guys on our team were able to do that too. I noticed that we became more resilient as the play went on. And I think you can take that skill set, it's like shooting a basketball, it's a skill, you gotta like implement that consciously. You can take that, translate that, and have success in your life moving forward with that as something in your toolkit. The second one, big one that we talk to all the time is, flipping the switch, right? Often, when you get like hyped up, you get jacked up before a football game. I'm saying the common stuff like, maximum focus, maximum aggression, maximum intensity, right? And that's specific to the sport. And I think you've seen me draw up the little, the ideal football player kind of graph where, you're right in that sweet spot of that flow state of, really competitive, really focused on the task at hand. And of course, that's going to be different in different contexts. If you're like a librarian, you're not going to come to the library and be like, I'm ready to go and start throwing books, right? You're going to be in a more relaxed stance, let's say. But there's still going to be an ideal mental framework or mental position that you're going to inhabit regardless of whatever role you're in, whether that's student, a spouse, any context where there's a task to be done. You need to be able to flick the switch and arrive at that ideal mental state and then consistently hold it over time. So I think by the end of the season, we were pretty good at that. There's an element of aggression and joy and breathing in the competition that I think everyone embraced. And that's something that you can take and leverage into the future in any context. Now, of course, in football, there's that sort of irrational confidence element. And I think you can also take that and apply it in certain scenarios. Like if I go for a public speaking event or if I'm doing like a job interview, something that I'm nervous about, I'll take that anxiousness, which of course is anxiety of a future event, and I'll go, do I control the outcome? No. What's the worst case scenario? I fail the interview or fail the test or whatever. Let's go with interview, let's say. Or public speaking, I bomb, everyone laughs at me. Do I accept that outcome? Yes, perfect. Do I reframe it? Yeah, this is a great opportunity. Cool. Then I apply the irrational, football brain to it, and I go, I'm the best. As I'm walking on the stage, I go, I'm the best, person. I practice, I'm going to kill this. I nail it. I'm still nervous, but I've turned that anxiety or that anxiousness into excitement, and then I just square up right at it, which is why you probably hear me say, what's in the way is the way. Of course, in football, that can literally be a physical person in the way, but in life, you're going to find a million examples of things that you don't want to approach because it's a bit, you've got anxiety about it or fear. And if you apply that football logic, that skill set of going, what, obviously it's in the way for a reason. It's the path I got to take because that's where I want to go in my life for whatever reason. You just kind of run right at it with that football mindset. So you can use that as a tool to propel yourself forward to do things that are it might cause anxiety or fear in the future. So that's a super good one. The last one is actually our sort of team motto. When we broke down practices, we'd always say like the little family chant or whatever, and family was sort of like a key word there. I thought about this for a while. I think that word totally encapsulates the sort of beautiful element of football, and that it's that sort of ultimate team sport. You don't where you have like a vision where there's the 60 people on the team all kind of agree to pursue the vision, which of course is to be the best team you can be. And it's a beautiful thing because you get to not just focus internally on your own personal goals, but it's also like you have to give yourself up to the wider community within the team context. And I think that when you're losing a game or at the end of the season when everyone's kind of choked, I think it's often like there's such a huge emotional reaction to that, mostly because the structure is so rewarding, it provides so much meaning when you're giving your best of yourself for the best of everyone, that there's a ton of value within that, especially for guys and girls who are really competitive. Like there's the double whammy of both those things colliding. So I think you can take that narrative, that sort of sunum bonum, that the highest value, which is to be for others, and you can take that framework in the football context and apply it to your life. So if you've got a job, like maybe you should pursue a job that allows you to be the best version of yourself for others in the environment you're in, and use that as sort of an intuitive guiding light to where you want to go. Now, you can talk about this for days. I feel like this theme of being for others is present in a lot of philosophies of life and theologies as well. And so I think that there's some axiomatic utility. There's some utility in that concept. So if you're ever feeling kind of lost for a minute, you can always ask yourself, what action can I take right now is going to be the best for my best for me, but by extension, the best for my community, the best for others. And you can often make good decisions based off that. So, should I go party tonight or should I study for that exam? Well, if I get the exam, I'm going to, be a lawyer, and that's going to be better for the wider grouping. Let's do that. Or, should I go party tonight? Well, you know what? I haven't been out for 3 months because I've been studying super hard for, become a plumber or whatever. Maybe I do need to go out for a night. And it's an easy way to kind of vibe check yourself. In the same way, in football, I would say, hey, are you getting good sleep? Yes or no? If the answer is no, you're screwing us on the team, right? You gotta have a good lifestyle to get to where we want to go. Are you doing the workouts? Yes or no, right? But it's easy to be motivated to move on that because the highest value there, that sunum bonum, the ultimate good, is to maximize the potential of the team, which requires you to give yourself to the wider group. So there's some juicy insight there, and I think that's why a lot of guys, when I see them, 10 years after playing high school football, they go, "Oh, football was the best, man! Like best time of my life." Why? Because it's the best of you for the best of me, right? We're all in it together with a vision or a goal over top of that, and I think you can leverage that concept, in relationships, in your work, and just in life in general. So that's kind of it. I'll leave it at that. Of course, it's been an absolute pleasure to coach you guys. I enjoyed every minute of it. You gave me more than I'll ever give you in that context. It's just an absolute joy, a pleasure, and let's stay in touch. I want to be around for the good times and the bad times, so feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm here for you guys 100%, like I know you'd be there for me if I needed something too. So that's it. Have a great day, and feel free to visit this video anytime you want, and reach out whenever you feel like you should. Take care.